live from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Good evening and welcome to the National News broadcast, bringing to you live from the National News Studios here at Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation. We're ready to bring you the top stories here at home and around the world. I'm Charita Vinipurarachi.
And I'm Lanjali Anand. These are the top stories making headlines for tonight. The President addressing the UN General Assembly assures a peace and prosperous future for the present and future generations of the country. Sri Lankan President meets his US counterpart. The Sri Lankan leader also holds talks with UN Secretary General. Sri Lanka stresses its commitment to nuclear disarmament at the international community. State Minister Shehan Semasinghe clarifies the causes for the decrease of inflation. Nipah virus causes less risk to Sri Lanka. The USA again provides money and aid for the war in Ukraine. Now for those and other stories in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that his intention is to assure a peaceful, harmonious and prosperous future for the present and the future generations of Sri Lanka.
Addressing the world leaders, the President stated that his aim is to direct the country towards a sustainable and steady growth so as to provide benefits to all communities in the country. President Wickremesinghe stated that these facts addressing the 78th UN General Assembly session yesterday.
Distinguished delegates and excellencies, may I have the singular honor of presenting to you my President. The Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Ranil Wickremesinghe, President of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, as Head of State. I request protocol to escort His Excellency. On behalf of the General Assembly, I have the honor to welcome His Excellency Ranil Wickremesinghe, President of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, Head of State, and to invite him to address the Assembly.
At this time last year, amidst multiple global crises, Sri Lanka was experiencing which had a devastating impact on people's lives. Even our democratic traditions were threatened by attempts to occupy our parliament and bring it to a halt. Nevertheless, we succeeded in bringing about a democratic political transition due to our deeply entrenched and resilient democratic traditions. Restoring to the regraduation of Sri Lanka's economy, coupled with the gift of fertilizer from the United States government, which led to a bumper harvest, has assisted us during that period. The reforms I have since initiated in the economic, financial, institutional and reconciliation fronts have been directed on the one hand towards rebuilding trust and confidence between the people and the government, and on the other towards laying the foundation for economic stabilization and recovery. Accompanying this systemic change are on one hand great expectations of development and human progress, with millions of people rising out of poverty to prosperity. On the other hand, we see a world where former big power rivalries and geopolitical tensions have reignited in open war, overlapping with new theaters of conflict and tension on land and in the oceans. Security alliances have expanded and recent arrangements have been formed to deal with strategic threats, perceptions in old and new theaters of conflict. Mr. President, this year, in parallel with the UNGA, we have participated in 3 interrelated summits dealing with the accelerating the SDGs, financing for development and climate ambition, where we agreed that international solidarity and collective action is needed to address these simultaneously. Adverse climatic outcome is spilling over onto our tight fiscal space just as we begin to stabilize from last year's economic crisis. The Secretary General's SDG stimulus highlights the interconnections between the achievements of the SDGs, combating climate change, and the concrete interventions required by creditors, sovereign and private as well as by IFS, including to mitigate the debt crisis. A machinery which has failed to find a solution to the long-standing Palestine question. The composition of the Security Council must be expanded to be representative of current global diversity and decision-making. In parallel, the role of the UN General Assembly must be strengthened. We are asking that the permanent members engage in a credible dialogue which will lead to a unified approach to combat these threats ahead of the next sessions. I would like to repeat again, we are asking that the permanent members engage in a credible dialogue which will lead to a unified approach to combat these threats ahead of the next sessions. Mr. President, developing countries have been the voice of sanity and reason in this regard for decades. In keeping with Sri Lanka's long-standing position, support your disarmament of the weapons of mass destruction and nuclear weapons, this year Sri Lanka ratified the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. Yesterday, we acceded to the Treaty on Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. This international system is today undergoing vast changes. At the same time, it's been confronted with unprecedented challenges. We come to the United Nations to demonstrate solidarity in arriving at common solutions. What is at stake is not the future of the United Nations, but our planet as a whole. Member states will need to find new ways of working together despite increasing mistrust that has permeated international relations. We who have not been able to find a solution must now be able at least to find a solution to the questions which threaten the existence of the present global community. And this can be achieved through the willingness of the permanent members to work together in solidarity with the developing world. They must show the way. Thank you.
The President Ranil Wickremesinghe met US President Joe Biden in the sidelines of UN General Assembly session in New York. US President Joe Biden offered a banquet for all state leaders who participated at the 78th UN General Assembly sessions. The US President warmly accepted Sri Lankan President at this occasion. Following a mutual discussion, President Ranil Wickremesinghe and Professor Maitri Wickremesinghe posed a group photo with Biden couple. An official meeting between President Ranil Wickremesinghe and UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres was also held today at the UN headquarters.
And meanwhile, Minister Ali Sabri reaffirmed Sri Lanka's unwavering commitment to nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation by announcing its ratification of the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. The press conference was convened as a part of the EU Article 14 conference on the CTBT, and Sri Lanka's ratification was officially made in July of the current year.
I'm pleased to take part in today's press briefing on the the Article 14 conference of the Comprehensive Nuclear Ban Test Treaty as a representative of a country that ratified the treaty in July of this year. Sri Lanka's recent ratification of the treaty is in accordance with our strong and consistent policy on nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation. Sri Lanka was amongst the first signatories of the CTBT in October 1996, just days after the treaty became open to signature, and was the 13th country to sign a facility agreement with the CTBTO in 1996, pursuant to which an auxiliary seismic station was established in Pallekele, Kandy. Since its adoption in 1996, we have actively supported the work of CTBTO, including regular interaction with on-site inspection division. Sri Lanka is pleased to host the next on-site inspection OSI integrated field exercise in 2025, which will bring together 180 technical experts and other participants from around the globe. In addition, the regime for the treaty verification has established an impressive international monitoring system and international data center. We are also pleased to see that the verification system has additional civilian and scientific applications. Prior to entry into the force of treaty, Sri Lanka reaffirms its strong commitment to the treaty's objectives and regards the treaty as our best guarantee against nuclear proliferation and for our collective security against nuclear threat. Given the current reality of rising geopolitical tensions and our recent failures to adopt a substantive outcome at the NPT review conference, the treaty is especially important. We join the call for the states, especially those whose ratification is required for the treaty's entry into force, to take concrete measures toward ratification.
And meanwhile, State Minister Shehan Semasinga says that the high inflation of the country could be brought to a lower digit even before the time period expected by the IMF due to the proper financial monetary management of the central bank. He made these remarks participating in a seminar held in Anuradhapura today.
This seminar has been organized as part of the series of seminars to enlighten the public on the progress of government's new tax policy, IMF program and the program of state income and economic stabilization. This Anuradhapura seminar held today was the fifth stage of this series of seminars. State Minister Shehan Semasinga said that in one hand the number of taxpayers increased and on the other hand purchasing power of the people decreased. Then the inflation increased rapidly. Today it has reduced up to 2% level. Inflation was at 70.2% last year. This development is due to the proper monetary policy control of the central bank. Even the IMF did not expect the inflation to come down into a single digit so early. The IMF expected this target by December this year. However, the country has been able to achieve this target prematurely by July. The food inflation, which was at 95% last year, has now reduced up to -5 level.
Sri Lanka Medical Association says that NIPA virus caused lower risk on Sri Lankan community. The association therefore requested the public not to be panicked unnecessarily. Consultant doctors, the association revealed that fact at a media briefing held today about the Nipah virus.
It belongs to the family paramedics, so it's a virus similar, not similar, but structurally similar, genetically similar to measles and mumps, and it has been discovered. The first discovery was around in 1998, so there were cases reported in Malaysia, and after that there had been cases, sporadic cases reported in outbreaks reported in Bangladesh, India and Philippines. I just want to mention with the Malaysian outbreak there have been cases in Singapore as well, and if you consider natural reservoir, so this is a virus which is not seen in the human population, but it is a reservoir. The reservoir, there are fruit beds. Primarily they are fruit beds, and there are several bed species which may harbor the virus. So generally the virus is excreted in the saliva, urine and feces, the body fluids of the bats. So what happens is when the bats go and feast on the fruits, they may drop their excreta, which may contaminate the fruits. And ultimately, if someone or some person or animal consumes that, so, and the person or the animal may get infected. Following that, especially if it's an animal like the cases reported in Malaysia, the pigs, secondarily they may transmit the infection to the human beings, and if the humans were infected from the body fluids and the respiratory tract droplets, very rarely the humans who are infected and having the disease may transmit it to the close contacts. And the clinical manifestation basically is the manifestation respiratory. You may get cough and features of like a pneumonia, and which may progress into a brain infection, encephalitis.
And on to more local stories, Minister of Public Security Tiran Alas says that when the government and the opposition level accusation against each other over the Easter Sunday attacks, the real criminals responsible for this attack are faded away from the public attention.
The minister pointed out that there are ample examples of such incidents in the past as well. The minister made these remarks making the reply speech of the two-day debate held in Parliament over the Easter Sunday attack and the current security situation in the country. Addressing the debate, opposition leader Sajid Premadasa stressed that there was a mastermind behind Easter Sunday attacks. He said earlier parliamentarian Sarath Weerasekara mentioned that the mastermind was Nafa Malavi. Mr. Premadasa said the Presidential Commission on Easter Sunday attacks did not even convene Naula Mafavi during its settings. Parliamentarian Sarath Weerasekara, answering the comments made by the opposition leader, said that the involvement of Nawaf Maulavi in the Easter Sunday attacks was revealed by the Federal Bureau of Investigations of the United States. However, the Criminal Investigation Department did not question from Nawaf Maulavi. Parliamentarian Sarath Weerasekara said. Parliamentarian Vajra Abeywadana requested the fellow members to refer the past records of the Parliament and check the speeches made by them during the period of Easter Sunday attacks. He questioned whether most of the parliamentarians are making the same statement now. Minister Vijaydas Rajapaksa said that the government and the opposition are making different statements related to the Easter Sunday incident. He said the general public of this country reject both views. Minister Rajapaksa said there should be proper scheme to support the victims. Parliamentarian Partli Champika Ranawaka said that there are proven links between the leader of the Easter Sunday bombings, Saharan Hashim, the terror groups operating in South India. He said last October there was a bomb blast in Tamil Nadu and it was carried out by the same group which had close contacts with Saharan Hashim. Mr. Tiran Alas pointed out that every country used various tactics to operations conducted by intelligence agencies. Planting of secret agents among enemies is a common tactic. There are certain similar incidents related to the Easter Sunday attack too. Minister Alas reminded that Liberation Tigers of Tamil Elam also used such tactics. They planted a suicide attacker, Babu, very close to then President R. Premadasa. He said during President Premadasa's time, certain groups alleged that he involved in the bomb blast that killed General Densil Kobbakadua and other senior officials. However, LTTE leader Prabhakaran at the time rewarded the terrorist who planted the landmine that killed General Kobbakadua. The minister pointed out that same type of blame game could be witnessed even today.
Acting Finance Minister Ranjit Siyambalapitiya announced that over the past year, inflation in Sri Lanka has significantly decreased up to 62.1% thanks to President Ranil Wickremesinghe's robust economic reforms agenda. Minister Siyambalapitiya also highlighted that inflation, which stood by 66.7% during the first and second quarters of 2022, has now pumped just 4.6% and the same manner. He made these announcements during a press conference held today at the Presidential Media Center focused on the theme of collective path to a stable country. Acting Finance Minister Ranjit Siyambalapitiya said that over the past year, the government successfully increased the country's foreign reserves from $1.8 billion to $3.8 billion. In August 2022, the exchange rate stood at 361 rupees per dollar. By August 2023, $1 could be acquired for 321 rupees. This shift is not the result of artificial control, but rather a reflection of the rupee's value, adjusting in response to supply and demand for the dollar, which holds significant economic importance. The interest rate for deposits previously at 14% in 2022 has been lowered to 11%, while the loan interest rate previously at 15.5% has been reduced to 12% this year. Notably, last year the primary account deficit was minus 247 billion, but this year it has turned into a surplus of 27 billion rupees. This marks the first surplus in the primary account balance in over 40 years.
Now, the Colombo International Book Fair 2023 started today at the BMICH premises in Colombo.
The book fair has been organized for the 24th occasion this year. The national television provides the electronic media sponsorship for this event this year as well. The book fair was opened under the patronage of Minister Susil Premchand this morning. Chairman of the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation, Dr. Prasad Samarasinghe, President of the Sri Lanka Book Publishers Association, Samanthi Indivara, and many others were present at this occasion. Over 400 book-stalls have been set up in this book fair this year as well. The Book Publishers Association has taken measures to provide printed books at a special discount of 30% since the price of paper has gone down at present. Freedom meetings, book launches, many other cultural events have been organized in the book fair premises. People can purchase DVDs of cartoons, songs, films, teledramas and numerous documentaries and Nana Mihira scholarship question paper sets produced by the national television at the SLRC Raw Entertainment stall.
The 73rd anniversary celebration of Sri Lanka-China Friendship Association was held yesterday under the patronage of Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena. The celebration was held at Temple Trees. Foundation stone for the Sri Lanka-China Friendship Association was laid by late Philip Gunawardena and his wife Kusuma Gunawardena during the 1940s. It was first initiated as Ceylon Chinese Friendship Forum, and the first senior officials of the Chinese Embassy, members of Sri Lanka-China Friendship Association and many others were present at this ceremony.
"73 years ago, at a time when diplomatic relations between China and Sri Lanka were yet to be established, Madame Kusuma Gunawardena, breaking through resistance and withstanding external pressure, inaugurated the Sri Lanka-China Friendship Association, which set the start of the first civil organization dedicated to fostering friendship between China and Sri Lanka. Over the past 73 years, under the guidance, have made a significant contribution towards strengthening mutual understanding and friendship between the peoples of our two countries. Amity between the people is the key to sound state-to-state relations. The enduring friendship between China and Sri Lanka has thrived due to the unswerving dedication and diligence of all civil organizations, including the Sri Lanka-China Friendship Association and their devoted members. Just as a Chinese saying goes, one should not forget the well digger when drinking water. I wish the commemoration of the 73th anniversary of the founding of the Sri Lanka-China Friendship Association a great success, and long live the friendship between China and Sri Lanka. Thank you.
Japanese ambassador in Sri Lanka, Misakoshi Hideki, donated an MRI scanner to the National Hospital today. This is the fourth MRI scanner machine donated to the National Hospital. The cost of the machine is about 400 million rupees. It has been donated under the funds of 1.76 billion rupee Japanese socio-economic development aid project. Minister Kelly Naramukwala and some others were present at this occasion. President's senior advisor on national security and chief of presidential staff Sagar Ratnakar says that they compete with the international economy. Sri Lanka should win the trust of international community. He made these remarks participating in a program organized by the Leo Society of Colombo Royal College yesterday. A stock of solar panels donated by the Chinese government were distributed among the selected religious places and elder homes. Cricket gear were also distributed among several selected schools, and school bags were given to a group of students at this ceremony. President's senior advisor on national security and chief of presidential staff Sagar Ratnakar said that we all must get together to develop this country. Sri Lanka has to win the trust of international community to economically compete with the other countries of the world. We must abide by the laws passed in the international system. Sri Lanka should prepare its rules and regulations in transparent manner. We all must protect foreign investment in the country and develop them for the benefits of the country and the people. We must have an investment-friendly environment in the country to attract more investors. The natural environment has also been transforming into an economic deal at present. As a government, we all must join with the new programs of the world. Public support is very much important in implementing innovative programs. A large crowd, including Minister Kanchana Wijesekara and Chinese Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Si Sheng Hong, were present at this occasion.
The President's Director General on Trade Union Saman Ratnapriya says that the JVP is organising strikes in order to gain political mileage. He made this remark at a press briefing held in Colombo today. President's Director General on Trade Union Samaratna Priya said that today several political factions and trade unions are actively involved in various initiatives aimed at advancing their political agendas on various national issues. Today, as our country strives to recover from a severe economic crisis, various trade union campaigns are underway in the Health Department. He said that despite the economic challenges, the President has directed the Treasury to provide relief to public servants, including the possibility of salary or allowance increases.
The fifth stage of the National Action for Preventing the Spread of Dengue mosquito breeding was held at the Siridamba Vidyalaya in Labuduwa, Gal. This program has been jointly organized by the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation and the Martin Company. Governor of the Central Province, Dr. Willie Gammage, graced this occasion as the chief guest. Today, we successfully implemented the fifth stage of the National Dengue Mosquito Breeding Control Program centering the Galle district. Students of about 5 schools in the area have gathered at the Siridhamma Vidyalaya in Labuduwa. They were enlightened on the National Action for Preventing the Dengue Mosquito Breeding. A program to clean the coastal belt of Galle City was also implemented successfully. Sri Lanka Navy, the Red Cross and the Galle Municipal Council extended their support for this program. The National Television and the Martin Company requested the people to extend their support to create a future free of dengue menace.
And we have more news from home in brief. Foundation stone was laid for the new Children's Ward complex at the Apeksha Hospital in Maharagama yesterday under the patronage of President Chief of Staff Sagala Ratnayaka. The Ruvunu Maha Kataragama Devalaya Fund has granted a sum of 150 million rupees for this 4-storied ward complex. Sri Lanka Air Force contributes entire labour for this construction. Minister Kehele Rabukwala and many others were present at the ceremony. The educational and vocational exhibition organised by D.S. Senanayake College, Colombo for the first time started today. This exhibition has been organised with the aim of providing local and educational opportunities and vocational trainings to students. This has been organised by the staff, students and Old Boys Association under the guidance of Principal Sampath Veragoda. A group of students at Matra Rahula Vidyalaya has introduced a QR code to hold an election efficiently and safely with a minimum cost. They held a student parliament election at the school yesterday using this new QR code. This QR code has been introduced by the Rahula web team headed by student Nadika Kalhara. The Indian Navy vessel INS Nirshak left the island yesterday, completing its official tour in Sri Lanka. The Indian Naval Staff jointly held a special diving training program with the Sri Lanka Navy Diving Unit. The official National Organic Control Unit was launched today at the headquarters of Sri Lanka Export Development Board. The website www.nocu.lk, head of the EU delegation for Sri Lanka and the Maldives, Dr. Johan Hez, and chairman of the Export Development Board, Dr. Kingsley Bernard, were present at this occasion. And that's all the news we have from home. Stay tuned for international stories coming up next.
කොළඹ ජාත්‍යන්තර පොත් ප්‍රදර්ශනය 2023 සැප්තැම්බර් 22 සිට ඔක්තෝබර් 1 දක්වා පෙරළු 9 සිට රාත්‍රී 9 තෙක් BMIC චිරි සංවිධානය ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොත් ප්‍රකාශකයින්ගේ සංගමය.
The foreign media reports that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has made his second visit to Washington, D.C. since Russian forces launched a full-scale invasion of his country. Unlike in his first trip to the United States capital, Zelensky faced a Congress less inclined to back the war effort with large aid packages despite pledges from top Democrats to stand behind Ukraine. In brief public remarks before the White House cabinet on Thursday, Zelensky struck a note of gratitude, calling his negotiations in Washington productive and strong. He also highlighted new military assistance worth $128 million announced by President Joe Biden yesterday. Biden used his presidential authority to authorize this aid.
tumi, pantamai.
Welcome back with your sports update, and the official opening ceremony of the 19th Asian Games will be held tomorrow at Hangzhou in China.
About 12,500 sportsmen and women representing 45 countries are taking part in the Asian Games this year. The Hangzhou city in eastern China is now fully ready to facilitate for the Asian Games. Modern grounds, a sports village, a media village and a media center that has accommodation facility for 10,000 reporters in the Asian region are available in Hangzhou at present. Sportsmen and women are ready to compete in 481 events under 40 sports categories. Sri Lanka have placed confidence in winning many athletic events and men and women T20 cricket tournaments. Sri Lanka women cricket team won the first match played against Thailand, increasing their hopes for medals. Batted first, Thailand women's team scored 78 runs for 7 wickets in their 50 overs. Shanida Storing scored 31 not out. Inushi Priyadarshini claimed 4 wickets. Sri Lanka passed the victory target in 10.5 overs. Aushka Sanjeevani scored 32 runs and captain Shamariyatapattu scored 27 runs. With this victory, Sri Lanka has qualified for semi-finals, which will be played on the 24th of this month. Asian Games will be officially inaugurated tomorrow in a grand manner.
Terima kutumi, pantamai.
And with that, we conclude tonight News Digest tomorrow at the very same time. I'm Charita, signing off with Dulanjali.